Hey Smutsters, it's Morgan, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing A Court of Mist and Fury in my week read of acotar in preparation for Crescent City 3, which comes out on January 30th. As a quick side note, Barnes & Noble is doing release parties for Crescent City 3, so if you are interested in going to one of those, call your local Barnes & Noble, see if they're throwing a party, and all you have to do is put down your name and email, and then you can go to the party. I believe they all start at 9 p.m, and then you get your book at midnight, and then you're all set to get the book on release day. So let's get into this book. So many notes on this book. This book is so long. I want to say it's like, yeah, 620 pages. So if you're gonna read this book, pay attention, because otherwise, if you're listening to an Audible in like a general sense and you're just like doing something else, you might miss a really core piece of this book. So I took some notes so I wouldn't forget anything. The first thing that I kind of want to talk about is Tamlin's just like straight delusional in this book. From start to finish, like the beginning of the book, Tamlin like thinks that Rhys like stole her and is like sending Lucien out to try to find her for like months and months. Even at the end of the book, he's still delusional. We'll come back to that, but it's just like this man just like lives. Like when they say that people are Delulu, like Tamlin is Delulu in this book. I hope he gets a redemption arc in the next acotar book that they make, but for this book specifically, Tamlin stays delusional. I feel like every book that Sarah J. Maas makes, she picks a word or statement that she just repeats so many times in that specific book. So for the first acotar, it was for sure the watery bowels thing, or like her bowels became watery, which like we're still kind of like, what does that mean? It's giving IBS. But this book, it's prick. So many people say the word prick in this book that they didn't really say in the last book. So Feyre calls Lucien a prick. Feyre calls Rhys a prick like 30 times. Cass and Azriel call Rhys a prick 30 times. I think Mora calls Rhys a prick, or I think she actually calls Cassian a prick too. This book, this is the book of prick. That's the word they've chosen for this whole series. If you didn't pick that up, reread it, and I want to say truly that they say this word like 30 times in this book. Granted, the book's super long, but I'm just like, wow. I don't know if that's intentional to like keep your mind engaged throughout the story, but I do think it's funny. Okay, so next thing that I thought was interesting about this is the Smut Book, right? This is where it all picks up, where everyone's like, wow, this is getting good. The Court of Nightmares scene is so well written, and when like Feyre's like embarrassed and Rhys is like, it's okay, it's just your body responding. It's so interesting when books are written by women, because they just make so much more sense, versus I feel like when you see movies with any kind of like sex scenes or anything like that, it's like so abrupt and so not realistic. And I just obviously really prefer things written by women because they make so much more sense. So now when I see movies, I'm just like, you guys really should hire a woman to write these scenes, because it just makes a lot more logical sense. So the next thing is about Tarquin in the Blood Rubies. Tarquin, I feel like, is such a great character. He's so like pure, like he's always trying to be the best guy. He talks about breaking down class barriers, and he just like is trying to be a good leader. I feel like if they do a film adaptation of acotar, they really need to be careful with who they pick as Tarquin, because he needs to come off very authentic, and he really should be like a fan favorite. Like, you know, in series where they're like, oh well, like these characters were great, but you know who the real like gem of this series is? Like, it should be Tarquin. It should be the actor that plays Tarquin, because everything that this boy does is like so sweet. And when she's like, I could see myself falling in love with him, I was like, oh, Tarquin, I love him. He's the best. So I just wrote down like, why is Tarquin so hot? It's a good question. it's a good question. The next thing that I thought was kind of like hot was when Lucien is looking for Feyre because Tamlin sent them out, and Lucien finds her and he's like, I've been looking for you for months, you know, we like picked up your smell. And Rhys pops up and she's like, I'm not going back with you. And Lucien looks at Rhys and says, you're dead. I was like, Lucien. Lucien really deserves his own book. I feel like he has some like hot energy that could really be expanded upon. And I'm just so interested to see how this continues with Elaine between him and Azriel. I love Lucien. When he said that, I was like, okay, vibes. And Lucien's usually a voice of reason too. I think he like realized that what Tamlin was doing was pretty messed up, but I'm always team Lucien, for sure. Okay, the next thing that I thought was cute was when Rhys gets attacked and Feyre is trying to distract him while she's getting rid of the ash arrows, and she talks about how she painted the night sky on their dresser, and Rhys was like talking to her about how he saw that in his mind. And I just thought that was super sweet because she was like saying she was looking for someone, and he was like, I was looking for you too. I was like, Rhys, there's a reason why Rhys is like everyone's book boyfriend, because he just has these really great one-liners where you're like, damn. That's one of them for sure. The next thing that I wrote is about the Suriel. I wrote, why is the Suriel so easy to trap? Everyone acts like it's so hard to get in contact with the Suriel. Feyre trapped Suriel 2 times. By the time this book is written, the Suriel has been caught 2 times. And everyone's like, the Suriel can't be caught. Like, I honest to God think that in this world, the Suriel is just bored, right? Suriel's been alive for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think the Suriel is just bored. So Feyre pops up and the Suriel is like, yeah, okay, let's let's gossip. Let's sip some tea. Let's, you know, start some rumors. Like, I love the Suriel's character because they're super nice too. Like, obviously in this book, the Suriel tells Feyre how to save Rhys, and Feyre's like, thank you. And the Suriel is like, I told you everything you wanted to know. And I'm just like, I wish that the Suriel could have been expanded upon to be like more of a friend, you know? But I mean, it was really well written. Even how the Suriel story ends, I think was really well written, but I'm just like, we could have been friends, you know? I don't get why people have a problem with the Suriel. When the Suriel says that Rhys is Feyre's mate, I thought that was so sweet. And then when Feyre's like, does he know? And she's like, yeah, or the Suriel is like, yeah, for a while. And you're just like, damn, Rhys. Which is so interesting because later when we talk about Feyre, or Lucien and Elaine, and how like, the moment Lucien finds out, he's like, oh, you're my mate. And versus Rhys, who has waited like forever because he didn't want to overwhelm Feyre. I thought that was super sweet of Rhys. And Rhys telling the story of how he knew that Feyre was his mate before he even met her, and he was like seeing her dreams and her nightmares and her painting. And then this is a line that I thought was really cute, but when he's talking about when Feyre says her name to Amarantha, and he said, hearing your name, it was like an answer to a question I had been asking for 500 years. I was like, that was a good line, Rhys. His character is written with some really smooth lines. That's one of them. And then he says, if you were gonna die, I was gonna die with you too. Also a great line, for sure. So cute. So the next thing that I thought was really interesting was about the Couldran. So much happens in this book, right? We start in the spring court, we go to the night court, we fall in love with Rhys, right? Tamlin and Lucien show up. We realize Tamlin has like sold everyone out to the King of Hybern to try to get Feyre back. And Nesta and Elaine are thrown into the Couldran and they come out. The moment that Elaine comes out of this cauldron, Lucien is like, you're my mate. It's just like, dude, a second, please. And I just think that's funny. Yeah, that's really my only thought on that. I just think it's funny. He was like, I need to tell you immediately. I forgot that Feyre pretends that Rhys tricked her and goes back with Tamlin. Which, I mean, like, obviously makes sense because there are parts in the next book that I really love where Lucien and Feyre are like running away from Rhys. But I forgot about that. And I forgot that they thought they were breaking the mating bond, but really it was just the agreement bond that they made. But I do think it's interesting. I forget how this pans out. But when Rhys is talking about how they got married and he made her the High Lady of the Night Court, and how if they would have looked at her other gloved hand, they would have seen the tattoo of that. But I'm like, aren't they gonna see that? Isn't Tamlin gonna see that? You know, like she's not just gonna wear this glove forever. So I forget how that expands, but I thought that was interesting. Yeah, those are really all my thoughts on that I wrote, but I think it's crazy how we start in the Spring Court, we get away from the Spring Court, we're back in the Spring Court when it ends. Lucien is like, this, none of this makes sense, Feyre's making stuff up, and Tamlin just straight delusional. Tamlin's like, why are we asking questions? Why wouldn't this be actual? Why wouldn't she just randomly break this curse that Rhys put upon her and want to be my partner now? Like, who cares that she's made it to someone else? He's living his Delulu life, and I think that is really funny. So this book I read in a day and a half, and the next one is A Court of Wings and Ruin. And I'm hoping to get that done in like another day or a day and a half. That book is super war-based. There's so much action that happens in that book. It's a lot of battles. So yeah, just a prep. If you haven't read that book, if you're about to start reading that book, that's what that book is about. And a lot of things happen in that book too. I want to say that it's also super long. I don't know if it's quite as long, but it for sure is, yeah, $6.95. So this book is actually a little bit longer than this one. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that happens in this book. And like I said, I love Lucien and Feyre in this book. I think that they're great. So that is mostly what I have to say about this book. I'm excited to continue through the series in preparation for Crescent City 3 that comes out on January 30th. Like I said, if you are interested in going to the release party, call your local Barnes & Noble and see if they have one. And they start at 9 p.m. and then at 12 you get the book, and then you can start reading. So we're working our way through the series. You can always jump on these videos and catch up and remind yourself about what's going on if you don't have time to read them, which totally makes sense. And if you are trying to read the books, I highly recommend getting them on Audible as well, so that, especially at this point, so that you have time to listen to them while you're cooking, cleaning, driving, so you're not just like spending so much time with the physical book that you can't do anything else in your life. So anyways, make sure that you like and subscribe this video so I can know you guys want more book content made. Comment if you're rereading acotar in preparation for Crescent City 3. Comment if there are any other hot takes on this book that I didn't reference. And yeah, let me know what you guys are excited for in prep for Crescent City 3, and if you're going to the Barnes & Noble release parties. I'm hoping to make a video about the one that I go to, so stay tuned. And I hope everyone has a great night.